The verdict in the Derek Cauvin trial had been reached but not announced in Minneapolis when yet another police-involved shooting in Columbus, Ohio, threatened to spark a tense nation's divisions anew. Slow-motion body cam video shows an officer arriving at the chaotic scene Tuesday afternoon. A girl swings a large knife at another girl who falls. She jabs the knife at a second girl, the one wearing pink, as the officer opens fire. The knife-wielding perpetrator dies from the officer's bullet. She was 15 years old. Now watch it in real time. The officer must make a split-second decision amidst utter confusion. This time it results in the likely saving of the life of that girl in pink. But mobs don't care.
Black women matter! Black women matter! Black girls matter! Black girls matter!
Protests erupted at the Columbus police station Tuesday night before the facts were known. The city's public safety director told reporters, quote, "If an officer has violated policy or law, they will be held accountable."
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty.
A diverse jury of Derek Chauvin's peers in Minneapolis held him accountable, guilty on all 3 counts.
It was a murder in the full light of day, and it ripped the blinders off for the whole world to see. The systemic racism the Vice President just referred to. The systemic racism is a stain on our nation's soul.
For many other Americans, the trial ripped the blinds off troubling attempts to politicize and to influence the independent judiciary, even before the verdict was rendered.
Guilty, guilty, guilty.
It's harder to imagine anything more inappropriate than a member of Congress flying in from California to inform local leaders, not so subtly, that this defendant had better be found guilty or else there will be big trouble in the streets.
And now means the Democrats can get whatever they want because they can create a narrative and then they can treat people like pawns and get them to basically say, if we don't get what we want, we will riot, we will loot, we will send these people out like soldiers to destroy your neighborhoods. And that is exactly what has happened.
Others say the president's notion that the trial revealed broad systemic racism does not hold up under statistical scrutiny.
I find it astounding, Glenn, that over the last several months, as shootings are going up exponentially in inner city areas, the only conversation we've been having on a national basis is about white supremacy.
Heather McDonald, author of the book The War on Cops, writes that in 2019, police shot 1,004 people, most of whom were armed or otherwise dangerous. African Americans were about a quarter of those killed by cops last year, 235, a ratio that has remained stable since 2015. That is a statistic seldom heard on progressive media outlets, seldom acknowledged by Democratic politicians. Washington Post reporter Michelle Norris grew up in Minneapolis.
I take Governor Walz at his word when he says that Minneapolis will change. I think it probably will, but there are 18,000 police departments around the country. Yeah. And the question is, what kind of change will you, not just in Minneapolis, but everywhere else in the country, because we keep seeing this. It's like living in Groundhog Day. You know, since the 29th of March, 64 people have died at the hands of law enforcement officers. Something is wrong with the system.
That something that is wrong, according to McDonald, may be the frequency with which detainees act on the impulse to run.
Get down to the ground. Get down to the ground.
To resist arrest.
Don't touch me. Stop touching the kid. Stop touching me.
Or to grab an officer's gun. And the huge escalation of consequences it brings. McDonald also cites another root cause. The siren first sounded in the early 1960s by Democratic Senator Patrick Moynihan, the breakdown of family.
You now have nationally over 70% of children being raised by single mothers. In many city areas, it's closer to 90%. Prisons are filled with fatherless men, whether it's white or black. And when you have the breakdown of the marriage norm, there's a systemic failure to civilize young men. That's true across races.
If there is hope for domestic calm ahead, it may lie in what the jury did Tuesday, and in this advice from former Congressman Trey Gowdy, offered to President Biden before his post-verdict speech.
The justice system prevailed, and 12 ordinary Americans, different races, different backgrounds, different life experiences came together beyond a reasonable doubt, Brett, and that is a point that I think can't be made enough. It is hard to convince anyone in this culture of anything. It's a celebration of our justice system. I hope he focuses on that.
Instead, the president highlighted systemic racism, a claim that half of America finds not only dubious, but divisive and risky, perhaps giving Derek Chauvin's appeal greater weight and potentially tainting the trials of those 3 other Minneapolis police officers in what could be a long, hot summer. Doug McKelway for the Washington Examiner.